Hello everybody, this is the Dynasty Lobster. I know I usually don't do reviews on this channel, but I thought it would be a nice thing for me to try out. So I'm starting with a very simple game, Donkey Kong by Nintendo. I'm playing the NES version specifically because it's the easiest one to record. Now for some history. Shigeru Miyamoto was starting his new job at Nintendo. He was told to recycle old cabinets from the game Radar Scope, due to the game's poor performance in arcades, and his instruction was to make a new game out of the same hardware. He started developing the idea of a game based on the popular Popeye the Sailor cartoons. His plans, however, fell through as he could not acquire the license to the characters, so he proceeded to create his own characters. One of them was a middle-aged man titled, well, Middle-Aged Man, and a girl named Pauline, as well as an ape he named Donkey Kong. His name meant stupid ape, or stubborn ape. The characters he made actually followed a story. It was one of the first games in existence to do such a thing, and I commend them for that. The story went sort of like this. A middle-aged man was a construction worker, and Donkey Kong ran off with his girlfriend Pauline. And this middle-aged man had to get her back. The story may seem cookie-cutter and bland by today's standards, but it was revolutionary back in the 1980s. Now on to the game itself. Let's first talk about the presentation. The game goes for a neon colors on a black background look to allow for contrast so you can see every character and sprite on screen. This may be an unpopular opinion, but I think the game looks pretty good. The music, however, is another story. It starts with an epic, ominous jingle that ensues the feeling that Donkey Kong is a big threat. However, the music that plays during the stage is just the same 6 notes repeating over and over again. And the sound effects don't fare much better in terms of how repetitive they are. The hammer song, however, is actually good though. It's kind of catchy even. Overall, considering games back in 1981 rarely ever had music, this is at least decent.
But Dynasty Lobster, how's the gameplay?
You might be asking. Well, shut up, I'm gonna tell you right now. The gameplay of Donkey Kong is very simple. You can move across the ground by walking, you can press the A button to hop, and you can press the up button to climb up a ladder if one is present. The challenge in this game comes from the level design and enemy placement. You may find broken ladders, fireballs, and barrels to dodge. And the way you dodge these obstacles is by using the abilities mentioned. You simply run and jump or climb over them. The goal of the level is to reach Pauline at the top. Touching a hammer will cause middle-aged man to start swinging it around like a maniac, and doing so will allow you to actually kill enemies. But you might say, why kill the enemies when you can just jump over them? And that brings us to our next point. This game has a score counter. You can just go for beating the game, but the overall objective is to obtain a very high score, and killing enemies nets you way more points than avoiding them. Now this may sound great, but the execution of all this is not amazing by any standards. It's still great, but I do have a few major gripes. For one, you cannot change the direction you are jumping in midair, and that's frankly annoying because it takes extra effort to remove mid-air movement when you're making a platformer. I know this from experience. That said, it's not a very big issue. The other glaring issue is that the NES version of Donkey Kong is missing an entire stage from the arcade game, which is a big deal considering that leaves you with only 3 stages. But the biggest flaw of all with the gameplay is that you cannot fall more than 16 fucking pixels without dying. This will be the thing that kills you 90% of the time when you play this game. Another slight problem is that the enemies are really unpredictable. So you better be far from their spawn point or else you're fucked, because you don't know what they're gonna do to kill you. Also, when you die, it takes upwards of 10 whole seconds before you start the level again, which is pointless, but not too horrible if you're patient. Also, this game has multiplayer. Bet you forgot about that, didn't you? Well, the multiplayer is good, but not remarkable. You see, it's the exact same as the base game, except you take turns playing it. It would have been very nice to see a proper co-op mode for this game, but I'm fine with this approach. So, what do I have to say about the game in conclusion? Is this game worth playing? Well, if you have an appreciation for game history, or have nothing better to do, then yes, you should play this game. I would recommend it. But if you look at the game in today's eyes, it's kind of janky, not bad, but sort of underwhelming. This has been Dynasty Lobster. I hope you enjoyed this review. Peace out!